Hello my friends and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. If you failed, try again, right? And if you fail again, assess the situation, change something, plan ahead, and try again. And eventually you might succeed, right? Right. Well, this might be Sweden's case with its NATO membership. As you probably know, Sweden decided to leave its neutrality and convinced itself, or was pressured by the big boss, Zimbabwe from across Atlantic, to join NATO. And since, weak entities, weak people, they're weak, they try to get into associations, into groups, into alliances when they pursue a goal, because that's easier, If you're more numerous, you have more chances to succeed. Alone takes courage, strength, determination, and so on. So, Finland, as well as Sweden, said, I think we're going to join NATO together as a group, because being two, maybe we have more chances. Unfortunately for both countries, they had some unfinished business with the country of Turkey. Unfortunately for Sweden and Finland, they don't have a 38-year-old dancer as a prime minister or whomever they got. Turkey has Erdogan. And Erdogan is no joke. He's a serious guy. And Putin considers him a real man. So Erdogan demanded that for Turkey to agree with Sweden and Finland membership into NATO, they have to fulfill a long list of requests/demands regarding the Kurds, some terrorist groups designated by Ankara as terrorists, and so on. Finland and Sweden said, yeah, we're going to work on that. Obviously, things changed, and Sweden was incapable of fulfilling his, I don't want to say obligations, but Turkey's demands. Therefore, Turkey now decides not to support Sweden's membership into NATO. That means not being unanimity, Sweden would not be able to get into NATO. It's okay, as I said at the beginning of this video, try again and bend the rules, turn around when the other one is not looking, cut the line, change the game, the rules. That's what sometimes people do in the middle of the game. When they see they're losing, they are going to change the rules so they can win. And then if they're losing again, they're going to change the rules back to wherever they think would benefit them. But unless you're not strong, you can't do this. Sweden cannot do this. Finland cannot do this. Only the United States can do this. I have here two articles talking about Erdogan/Turkey, Turkey's opposition, to Sweden's membership into NATO. Not Finland yet, only Sweden's. So let's see what these articles are saying, because there have been some incidents in Sweden that really angered Turkey. If you remember, Sweden agreed, based on free speech, to allow some person to burn the Quran, and in one of the meetings, demonstrations, which angered the Turkish people and the Muslims. This article comes from the New Voice of Ukraine from January 23rd, 2023. Turkey's Erdogan signals opposition to Sweden joining NATO. And another article I have from Al Mayedin, again from the 23rd of January 2023. Stockholm loses Ankara's approval for NATO membership. So let's start with this one from New Voice of Ukraine. This is Erdogan, obviously, the real man. And I'm quoting, "Those who caused such a disgrace in front of our embassy should not expect any benevolence from us regarding their NATO membership applications, Erdogan said. And I'm quoting again, if you do not show respect to the religious beliefs of the Republic of Turkey or Muslims, you will not receive any support for NATO from us. End of quote, Erdogan said. The president added that the protesters in Sweden have insulted everyone who, and I'm quoting, respects human rights and liberties, including those of Muslims. Period. Now, I have a little problem with this, because you might have your freedoms, obviously, freedom of religion and all that, but some other people might have the freedom of speech. So if you feel insulted and it's maybe, I don't know, a blasphemy for someone to do that, freedom of speech does not oppose that. Now, obviously, if there would be some double standard somewhere, then that should be discussed. But, my freedom and your laws sometimes do not coincide. In this case, that would be a sacrilege, right? Insult to burn the Quran, and that is for the Muslims, but for the rest of the world, they don't care about that. And they have the freedom of speech, and I guess they can do that. It is sacrilege for that, for the followers of Islam, that's true. But then if you impose and limit the freedom of speech of others, then where is the human right? I'm not defending either side. I'm just conducting here an intellectual conversation. So let's go back to this article. And the human rights and liberties, liberties of burning whatever you want as a book. Now, on January 21st, anti-Turkish protests took place in Stockholm, with some participants publicly burning a copy of Quran. Now that's stupid. I don't think it's illegal in Sweden. I don't think freedom of speech should limit that. That's my personal opinion on that. But I think that's stupid. You don't like it, turn around and ignore it. As other people don't like your face, or don't like your belly, or you don't like your butt. So these guys, you just turn around and let them be. Could that be considered hateful? Yes, could be considered hateful, but in the same way, saying that your face is ugly could be considered hateful as well. So then with this, we will not be able to have any opinion on anybody else, because the other person could consider it insulting or a sacrilege. Along with Hungary, Turkey has been holding up Sweden and Finland's NATO accession for over 6 months, citing Stockholm's support for Kurdish civil organizations. They consider them, terrorist organizations, the Turks. Now then, from Al Mayadin, which is an Arab news outlet, let's see what kind of take we'll have these guys on burning the Quran, which, as I said, it's ugly, it's bad, but what, are you going to hang someone for that? I don't think so. Maybe you do that in other countries, but not in these ones. And I agree with these ones, okay? So let's go and see what Al Mayadin has to say about this. Stockholm loses Ankara's approval for NATO membership. Rasmus Paludan, the head of the extreme right Danish political party, Stram Kurds, burned a copy of the Quran on Saturday after being permitted to by the Swedish authorities. And this is again Erdogan, not very happy. I haven't seen him happy anyway. I like his suit though. That's great. Look at that. Beautiful. All right. So, following the anti-Kurdish and anti-Islamic actions during the demonstration in front of the Kurdish embassy in Sweden on Saturday, Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan warned that Stockholm shouldn't count on Ankara's approval for Sweden's application for NATO membership. Rasmus Paludan, the head of the extreme right Danish political group Stram Kurs, burned a copy of the Quran on Saturday after being permitted to by the Swedish authorities. He has a dual citizenship, Swedish and Danish. The incident was denounced by the Turkish foreign minister as a vile attack on the holy book of Muslims and quoting, another example of the alarming level of Islamophobia and racist and discriminatory movements have reached in Europe, end quote. The foreign minister of Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Iran, and the United Arab Emirates all denounce the burning of the Quran. I would do too. I don't think that's right. But what do you want to do with those guys? Make it illegal? As I said, throw them in jail. And I'm quoting, if you allow such actions, then do not be offended. But you will not receive support from us on the issue of joining NATO. I think that's appropriate for a country to decide that. That's a Turkish prerogative. The Swedish leadership should not expect our support, end quote, Erdogan said in a speech after the cabinet meeting on Monday. He emphasized that people who incite such, and I'm quoting, heresy, well, heresy is for Muslims, but for people, let's say, non-believer, that is just stupid, okay, to do such a thing. But as well as those who condone such behavior must take responsibility for their conduct. Well, what is responsibility? Based on what kind of laws? That's a detail that we should not, oversee, or how should I put it, just ignore. Because responsibility under the law means something in some countries and something else in other countries. Following the outbreak of the Ukraine war, Sweden applied to join NATO last year. However, their bids for accession require the unanimous approval of all 30 NATO member states to be considered. Hungary and Turkey are the only countries to have not approved the application yet. Turkey's firm denial of Sweden's application for NATO came as a result of the recent deterioration in the diplomatic ties between the two countries over state-condoned anti-Turkish propaganda. Well, I don't know if that was state-condoned, to be honest with you. I think it was just those people saying it's okay, under the freedom of speech of our country, which I don't think Sweden has in its constitution. But I wonder if someone would go and deny certain historical events, if he would be thrown in jail and called a blah 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 denier. I wonder if the same persons will expose or wear certain kind of symbols from the past if freedom of speech expression in Sweden would be limited. I wonder if certain people would like certain kind of ideologies, or even walk around with some t-shirts with someone else's face over here, a guy from the 1930s or 40s, let's say. Would that be still considered freedom of speech in Sweden? I wonder. So once you have a double standard in saying, well, freedom of speech is what we determine to be hateful and what not, then it's pick and choose. And I really don't like situational freedom of speech. I understand a certain kind of protection for the children should be implemented, but it doesn't mean that I can't do certain things. Obviously, I will not go naked outside. I have my freedom of expression of speech, but that falls under other little decency acts. So as I said, it's not between me and Quran. I think people should worship whatever they want and whomever they want. The only thing I would like just to be left alone. And I don't want to be anything to be imposed on me, which I think this tells me that let's say I'm not a follower of this religion or their religion, should obey by or abide by their laws or blasphemy or whatever. I do not agree with that. Are you, how should I put it, you're not kind or you're rude? That's a different story. It's freedom of speech, I guess. So here, not I guess, it is. So in this case, Sweden shot itself in the foot, and I'm pretty sure as long as Erdogan is alive, Sweden will not join NATO through the front door. That's always a back door. If you have connections and if the boss makes rules as the game is on. Remember? So it would be possible for Sweden to join NATO through the back door somehow, or join as and they will create a new term. I don't know. You're not a NATO member state, you're a NATO Baba Baba state. And Baba Baba is almost as NATO member state. You will have all the rights, but as a member state, but you will be a baba state, which will always, you can invoke Article 5. I think that's how it is in the NATO, that you can, if I'm attacked as a baba state in NATO, then you will intervene for us, and I will allow your troops to come over my baba state, and we will have everything against the Russian. Basically, that's the whole point. So, thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.